Do you think most writers know what their story really is about?
I think at some point it's always going to be kind of a mystery. Like, I don't know that we have to know what it's about, but I think we have to be curious as to what it's about. Okay, and that's the difference. Because when I'm working with writers and we work with something I call the story structure questions, and I've got a series of experiential questions. Okay, so they're and people say, oh, I answered these questions. Like, they're not meant to be answered; they're meant to be inquired into. And so I think James Brooks said that he didn't know what As Good as It Gets was about, I think, until he watched it with the first audience, and that's when he realized what it was about. So I don't know that we have to know in some fundamental way what the thing's about. I also think that it can change. But if we're not curious about the theme, at some point, the story can get away on you. The plot can get away on you. You can become so seduced by your plot twists or by the movement of the plot that you can the theme can become untethered, and you can lose the why the story wanted to exist in the first place. I work with writers sometimes, and they will write a really great, messy first draft, and then they'll give their draft to their best friend to read, and their best friend will go, I really like chapter 4, 6, and 7, but I didn't really like chapter 3, 9, and 10. And so they'll take out the chapters they didn't like. But in other words, they will abdicate authority over their work to somebody else. And this is what I'm always trying to help writers understand, that you know your story better than anybody else, even though you don't know your story, because there's something that you want to express that's valid. Okay, it's valid. And just because the story isn't doing everything you want it to do, or it's not totally working, doesn't mean that what you have to express on a fundamental level isn't valid. And so the job is to stay with the process. Stay with the process. Don't get into the result. Don't go, oh, okay, if I get rid of chapter 9 and 10, nobody's going to know that. No, there's something, you need to ask yourself, what was in chapter 9 that you were trying to express? And let's start to cull that so that we can find that through line, because everything we write either belongs or is leading us to what ultimately belongs in the story. So if I throw something out without really being curious why I'm throwing it out, I'm doing myself a disservice. And so I'll see people who will take they'll have these wonderful, messy first drafts, and then they will start to, it'll just start to get worse and worse, because they're not trusting the reason they wrote the thing in the first place. Or they'll give it to an agent. An agent will say, it'll be more commercial if you do this to it. Sometimes that can work, but sometimes that you can kill the aliveness of something because you're giving it away.